So, how do you take a security design, a plan on paper, and turn it into a real, working system of cameras, card readers, and alarms out in the world? Well, it's not magic. It all comes down to a critical set of documents, which are basically the ultimate instruction manual for construction. And today, we're going to break down that manual piece by piece.
I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. On any complex construction site, being vague is your worst enemy. You can't just wave your hands and hope for the best. You need a formal, structured language to make sure your design becomes reality. And that language is all written down in the construction documents.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll look at the core blueprint. Then, we'll learn to speak the language of construction. After that, we'll figure out how to read the visual maps, see how installers get picked, and understand the rules of the game. And we'll wrap it all up with the really critical lesson from the real world. All right, first things first. Every great installation is built on a solid foundation. And in the world of construction, that foundation is the formal construction document package, or what everyone calls the CD package. This is the single source of truth for the entire project.
Think of this whole package as being split into two perfectly matched halves. On one side, you've got the drawings. These are the visuals. They literally show you where everything goes. On the other side, you've got the specifications. These are the words. They describe exactly what everything is and how it needs to perform. You absolutely need both to get the full picture.
Okay, so what happens when the picture says one thing, but the words say something else? This is a huge deal. The golden rule in the industry is that the specifications, the written word, will almost always win. In any kind of dispute, the text is the final authority. You've got to remember that one. You know, to really be effective on a construction site, you can't just speak security. You have to speak construction. And lucky for us, there's a universal language for it, and it's a numbering system called the CSI MasterFormat. Let's see where we, as security pros, fit into this world. And this really shows you how much our field has grown up. You know, before 2004, security was kind of just shoved into the electrical section, Division 16. But as our technology got more and more complex, the master format system gave us our own dedicated address, which was a huge validation of our importance in the construction universe.
Now, these four divisions right here, you absolutely have to know them. Division 08, that's all about the physical doors and the locks. Division 26 is for all the power. 27 handles the IT side, the cabling, the racks. And Division 28, well, that's us. That's our home. That's where you'll find everything from cameras to card readers to alarms. Okay, pop quiz time. You're walking the site and you see a problem with the physical door frame. Maybe it hasn't been properly filled with concrete, or grouted as they say. Which division's rulebook do you check? Well, it's not ours, not Division 28. The actual door frame is specified back in Division 08, openings. And this just shows you why you have to know what your neighbors are doing, not just your own stuff. All right, we've talked about the words, so let's flip over to the other half of our package. Let's focus on the visuals, the different kinds of drawings that are going to guide the entire installation.
So first up is the one you'll see the most, the floor plan. This is your classic bird's eye view, showing the physical placement of every single device. But here's the most crucial tip. Find the symbol legend. Never, ever assume you know what a symbol means. A triangle could be a motion detector or it could be an intercom. The legend on that first page is your decoder ring. Use it. Now, if the floor plan is all about where things are physically, the riser diagram is about how they're all connected. This is not a physical map. It's a logical one. It's the schematic that shows that this card reader wires to that specific controller, which then plugs into a network switch. This is basically the installer's wiring guide for the entire system.
And a couple of others you'll definitely run into are elevations and details. Elevation drawings give you that side view, so you can see the exact mounting heights, which is super important for both how things look and how they work. And detail drawings, those are the super zoomed-in close-ups that show exactly how to handle a really tricky installation, like, say, mounting a lock on a glass door.
So you've got this perfect set of documents, but how do you pick the right team to actually build it? Well, that's where the formal procurement or bidding process kicks in. Let's clear up some of this acronym soup, shall we? First, there's the RFQ, the request for qualifications. Think of this as the audition. It's just asking, are you even capable of doing this kind of work? It helps you create a shortlist. Then, only those qualified companies get the RFP, the request for proposal. That's the one that asks, okay, now tell us exactly how you're going to do it and for how much.
But let's be real, no design is perfect. When an installer finds a problem, like maybe a camera is specified for a wall that turns out to be glass, they submit an RFI, a request for information. The designer gives a clear answer,
And, this is the critical part, that answer has to be shared with every single bidder. It keeps the whole competition fair and totally transparent for everyone.
Okay, now let's talk about the project's rulebook, the specifications, and then the different team structures or playbooks that a project can use to get to the finish line.
A specification document almost always breaks down into 3 parts. Part 1, that's all the general admin rules like warranties and paperwork. Part 2 is all about the products, the specific hardware you need, down to the model number. And Part 3 covers execution, the exact step-by-step instructions on how that hardware has to be installed.
And the way the team is structured really matters. The traditional way is design, build, build, where the owner hires a designer and a builder separately. This gives the owner the most control, but man, it can be slow. The other popular method is design, build, where one company does everything. It's way faster, but you lose those independent checks and balances. It can kind of be like the fox guarding the henhouse. So it really boils down to what's more important to you, control or speed.
We have covered all the official processes and documents. But to wrap this all up, I want to share a crucial piece of advice, some hard-won wisdom that really bridges the gap between the clean documents and the messy reality of an actual construction site.
And this right here, this is pure gold. On a real job site, things change, and those approved changes get marked up on the drawings in red pen. Everyone calls them red lines. So if you're walking a project and you see the installer's drawings are perfectly clean with no red on them, that is a huge red flag. It almost always means they're building from an outdated plan, and big problems are probably right around the corner.
So that really brings us to our final thought. We've seen how essential all these documents are for creating order and clarity. But when that perfect blueprint inevitably runs into a real-world problem on a messy construction site, what's the one human skill that suddenly becomes more important than any technical specification or drawing? Something to think about.